game.
Right.
We were willingly NPC'd.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like, an important note.
I'm gonna get some water. Talk
Do
about that if you will.
Sure thing. Will you get enough water for both of us?
I will get some water.
Thank you. So, basically, the bare bones of what happened is that a few of us had to miss that game. We still wanted it to be able to run, so we were willing NPCs so that our party members could bid certain skills to help, again, further the storyline, help in combat, check for traps, whatever they needed. And the people at that particular session were all of the people that were not necessarily on board with, not Team Melilo, let's just say. And by the end of that session, she had finally gotten fed up with the party, and honestly, I get it. She left. Thank you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, none of the people in the game are going to see this, right? Do you think?
Oh yeah, no, they'll definitely. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to.
Well, that just means like, will they watch it? Probably not.
Okay, so I had a
Party
suspicion.
Division via RP are some great game sessions. Hell yeah.
Truth. I will say I'm still trying to attempt to salvage it. I don't think I'll be successful. This NPC is far more powerful than us. She's smarter than probably all of us. In terms of like staying alive.
She's more experienced.
Yeah.
So they came across this character when they were probably 5th level or so, and this character was 8th level. Now they didn't know that, and in the narrative, the way she is presented is she's been an adventurer for a long time, but she's broken.
Yeah.
And so the idea was they had this opportunity to dismiss her, have her part of the group, or do whatever they wanted. And any of those are fine. It's just, because the limelight in the game, at least in my game, my goal is for it to be on the actual player characters. So what they do with NPCs, that's up to them. It's just, if they can turn an NPC that actually could be very useful against them, right? So there's consequences for the actions. And two of the other players, Ben being one of them, he's playing a character, he's playing a Githyanki, and his character is draconian in how he deals with people. He looks at all of these other people as lessers because he's racist. And, he's from the plains, so these are a bunch of Burks or the clueless.
The savages.
Savages that are there to die so that he can be great. And then there's this crazy woman, Melilel, who attacks him. So he's going to engineer her demise. That's just it. But he's very savvy about how he's going about it.
Yeah, he played it very well. He
Yeah.
really did. It was a very cool character choice, I thought.
It made a lot of sense.
It made a lot of sense, and there for a while, it was a really cool boundary, division, like Megan says, character or player division between who wanted to absorb Melilel into like a seamless part of the party, and those who were like, well, we don't trust you because...
Well, she abandoned her party from before.
Right. And that being said, the rogue in me is like, well, we don't know what horrors she faced. It would make the most sense to become a very good friend so we can gather information, so she can help us because she's also looking for a party. But depending on the type of character you build, you're not going to necessarily agree with that, and you're going to take a different approach to a broken character who fled the dungeon, if you will. And so I thought it was a really cool role play choice between, the division was actually really cool.
Right.
And I think it's still...
It's still there. It's still cool.
Still there because I am still very vocal about being concerned about her. in an attempt to persuade the rest of the team to get ready, if you will.
So it's just
Because
like,
I have some thoughts, some suspicions, if you will, about what could possibly come from a character that can walk through this dungeon alone and survive. Teammates.
so there's this whole idea of like, you know, where is the metagame? Where is the story narrative?
Yeah.
Where do people say, oh well, I'm evil, therefore I'm doing this, or I'm chaotic, neutral, so I'm going to do this, or I'm good, so I do this. We want to get past all that, and instead be like, okay, you have such an understanding of your character's motivation, like in acting. You know, like thinking about like a movie like Joker. Anyone, well not anyone, but people that watch that movie who like it, or who think about it, yeah, I guess you don't have to like it.
He's true chaotic neutral.
Alignment battles aside, we'll get that's a whole other conversation.
Well, I guess, but I mean in terms of like what he does for the storyline of that movie. He's more of a spotlight than like an alignment.
I'm gonna sidestep because alignment gets into a whole thing.
Okay.
I'm not trying to disagree,
enough.
but what I'm because it opens up a huge can of worms. Is my point.
Yeah.
My point is this. Well, here's an example. Is Batman lawful good or lawful neutral? Don't answer. Okay?
I think it depends on the situation. That's all.
So,
that's all.
What my point was for Joker was anyone who watches that movie, you know, you watch it and you're like, okay, I know who that character is. I know his motivations.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I agree with him, maybe I disagree with him, but I know why he's doing it, and it's not out of character that he's doing it. That's my point. So let's say you give him mechanics, class levels. Well, what would he be? You can make a lot of ideas about what is Joker, right? What level of character would he be? What's his alignment? And there's a lot of different ways you could play it. Going back to what Megan was saying, you're not playing your alignment. You're not playing your class or your race. You're playing your motivation.
Right.
And
the rest is just an outline.
The rest is just an outline. It's something to step off from. And in this specific example in Richmond Faye, with Mellowell, this character who's broken, then when they find her, over the course of 3, 4, 5 game sessions, she starts to kind of gain her mind again, gain her purpose, gain some resolve. She's shown some kindness from her character and Poe, the rogue.
The other rogue.
She's shown some derision by the Eladrin who's playing. And she's shown faux niceties by the Githyanki. The thing is, there was a role, and this is a mechanical idea. The Githyanki essentially is like, I'm going to deceive her into making her think that I'm cool with her, and in reality, I'm waiting for the time that I can plunge my sword into her belly, but I'm going to wait till it hurts the most. Till she's sitting there about to find her party, and that's when I'm going to strike.
Oh, see, I thought it was like kind of fattening up the pig for slaughter. Like, he was waiting until we needed a sacrifice or a...
I think initially that's what it was. But eventually,
and then
it became
kind of
this
melded
thing.
into... Okay.
Now, here's an interesting tidbit. The DM knows these things. So I got to be careful not to metagame myself. It's very easy for a storyteller to be like, wait, so you want to do this? Okay, well, there just happens to be a bad guy that's really good at, is a foil for you. So you got to be really careful about that. So I made the decision to rely on a role. I was like, okay, I know that Mellowell is a level 8 character, very charismatic, very wide, or has a high wisdom, if you will. As in, she's very perceptive. Not incredibly, but just quite. Game mechanics, she's got like a 14 or 15 on her wisdom, so a +2. And she has the skill for it, for insight. Although, insight is wisdom.
Yeah.
Regardless. So, the Githyanki says his thing. I say, okay, cool. Make your deception roll. Because just because you say these things, someone could be like, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
So he makes his roll. It's pretty high. It's like a 16 or 17. And I was like, all right, I'll roll for Melilel. Boom, nat 20. Now, you don't technically crit on skill checks in D&D, but house rule, we almost always do. Almost always. I like to keep the numbers low. You roll a nat 20, okay.
Yeah. And especially if it furthers the storyline.
Especially if it furthers the storyline.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. It's not that Melilel, and I said this, I was like, it's not that she knows you're lying. And aha, you're lying, and therefore I know everything you just told the DM. No. But she doesn't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
You're being nice, but there's just something in the reptilian part of her brain that's telling her, watch him.
Yeah.
And over the course of 4 or 5 sessions, his counterpart, who is the Eladrin, is just a thunder cunt to him. Like, just terrible. And she played it's such a cool character.
Yeah, it's an intentional thunder cunt. Like, it's
awesome.
an actual,
it's awesome.
like, narrative move that is really cool for the story that we're going for.
And she doesn't break character at all. It's great.
No, it's a really cool choice. It adds a lot of complexity to the game, obviously, with the NPC, which you could view it as frustrating, but I think it just adds another dimension to what we're trying to achieve at the end.
It's trust because she knows who her character is.
Yeah.
And she's got this thing, I didn't even know about it. It's like Eladrin can change their season or something, and she had just gone to winter, which is supposed to be bitter and cold.
Yeah, you know.
And so eventually...
It worked really well.
Eventually, Melilel stands up to her. And she's like, because they're essentially like, you're a coward.
Yeah.
You're a piece of shit. Finally, Melilel, kind of like, they see her for a glimmer of what she was maybe when she walked into the dungeon. Now, mind you, this is all on the side.
Yeah.
This is in between scenes during short rests or whatever.
Yeah.
This is not the story. This is just outside of combat, the stuff you think about. She's an NPC. Their stories are in the limelight. But how do they deal with these problems?
Mm-hmm.
And there was that one moment, actually several moments leading up to, but the one moment where the character Melilel looks at the Eladrin in the eyes and says, you better shut up. Because one of these days, it's not going to go well for you. And that's when the Githyanki turns and he's like, what'd you say, this kind of thing? And that, when everybody, they had like a combat or something, or they did something, everybody rested, and Melilel left. She went deeper into the dungeon, did not return.
Yeah, but there was an Easter egg left during that scene, would you call it?
Yeah.
During that scene of, hey, I'm more powerful than any of you. Also, my teammate, who we know is alive, is far more powerful than me. I'm actually afraid of him.
Yeah.
Melilel is actually afraid of him. And I took that as an Easter egg. I'm not sure how, we all accept the information through the lens of the characters that we're playing. It's a very conscious choice.
What's brash heroes that have the hubris to delve into a dungeon and...
Right.
Of course they're going to take it head on, right?
Well, I mean, so I think Poe understands that Easter egg, if you will. But people who are playing, a Winter Eladrin or a Githyanki warrior are going to intentionally go, well, my character would absolutely dismiss that because this is the character.
It just makes sense.
It makes sense. And I have a party who is probably going to back me up. There is a lot of team trust in the narrative choices that each of the players are making. Whether or not we agree with what they're doing, they know that most likely we're not going to let them die willy-nilly. Like, we're going to try to do our best to salvage any situation any one of us drives us into.
Right. Even if they don't really agree.
Agreed. Yeah.
Right. Megan says, ulterior motives. It's the same way that I say, you feel like you're being very convincing.
Yeah.
And then heed the warning that NPCs give you.
Oh,
that is absolutely there. And that's
Agreed.
one of the, just being a storyteller, it's one of the things that I really like I learned it a long time ago. I almost all of my games have paintings and such, and the descriptions of where they are, of where the group is, matter because it's foreshadowing.
Right.
So when the character Melolel, this NPC, starts to stand up to her oppressors, who are a couple people in the party, this is not planned. It's just, it makes sense at this point because of what's said. Now, again, as a storyteller, I got to be careful. This is my character. No, it's not. It's an NPC, and that NPC needs to act in according to their motivation. And it's hammered in to the party. Why is Melolel in here? Why is she here?
Because she's trying to find the party members that she got separated and or ran away from.
That's it. Everyone knows it. And everyone kind of knows that Melolel, in probably a heartbeat, would betray every one of them.
For her party members.
For her party members.
Yeah.
Now, there was a point, maybe she wouldn't. Maybe she would think about it. She'd be like, but you all are kind of my party. Like if she saw that one of them had been turned to like, the darkness or something, maybe she would help them to fight that person, right?
Right.
Who knows? And that would be an interesting story because they would have convinced her to do that. But at this point, she's gone on to find this person, right? So now they have to deal with that idea of, well, is she a liability? And what they just found out from, this level 1 of the dungeon, this sort of, each level of the dungeon, it's pretty tropey. Each level of the dungeon has kind of like a mob boss, if you will, that's kind of controlling things in the bigger arena of what's going on. They meet this mob boss, whose name is Quig. And this is one of these sort of frozen borer witches in Volo's, I mean, forget what the book's called, it's Volo's, whatever, Guide to Bad Guys. Anyway, they talk to Quig, and Quig says, do you remember?
That Melolel had made a deal with her. And I was very vocal about the fact that a single NPC could walk in to the mob boss's domain and convince her to make a deal.
What's interesting is, so they have a fight, and this is something that the players have not yet had a moment to really think about. So I'm kind of breaking it to you in a way. Because there's a lot going on. This last session, they actually had their big long rest where they're sitting there like, okay, all these items, we got to look at this stuff, we got to read the books, we got to check out the potions.
Yeah.
Hey, really, what are we doing? Recentering. But the order of operations, the order of events was they get into this dungeon, they are attacked by zombies and these kinds of things. They know that are being controlled by this witch. And then shit goes down, they bed down in a safe spot, Melolel leaves.
Yes.
The next session, they're going down the hallway investigating, and there's this magic door she's standing next to, and this witch's arm comes out of the door, kind of like Pan's Labyrinth, and tries to grab her, but they fight her off.
I fight her off.
You do. Nothing else happened. The witch did not attack any other way. And the combat that they had nothing to do with something the witch was actually attacking them with. It just happened to be like a trapped door.
Right.
Well, the black pudding.
And it was a little bit of an Easter egg.
There's an Easter egg.
Yeah.
And in this session, they go into this place, they accidentally summon a demon, and they think, oh, this is all, we're going to go fight Quig. Well, the other party members that were outside of the room, because, of course, anytime you're going to summon a demon and the door's shut, there's at least one or two party members outside of the door.
Of course.
They're coming down the way, trying to get to him. They run into Quig,
Who got poisoned.
who runs into the trap that she laid over her magic door. And Quig says, oh, are you all Melolel's friends? As it turns out, Melolel has talked to Quig. So the thing that they haven't really put together yet is the witch was never actually attacking them.
Mhm.
She was attempting to pull her in with her
Oh.
to talk to her. Because she's a witch and she eats people's souls, so she doesn't have like niceties. She's like, you come to me, that kind of thing. But they didn't know that. They just fucking hacked her arm off and we're like, kill the witch, we're fucking adventurers, right? Because they're also pirates, apparently. So they haven't put it together what's going on. And this often happens in games where people are like, yes, kill everything, it's okay, I'm good, or whatever. Actually, there's a motivation here. Mellowell has gone and done something, and Quig, the witch, has actually told some of the party members what she did. She made a deal with the witch to not hurt them. Well, the moment that the Eladrin and the Githyanki hear that Mellowell has made a deal with the witch, she's betrayed us.
I stuck up for her.
And it all goes to hell. Well, you stuck up for her in the way of she's dangerous, not in the way of putting 2 to 2 together.
No. I did not put 2 and 2 together.
Go on.
I stuck up for her in the way that I'm desperately trying to make the side of the party that dislikes her aware of the fact that if they continue with the hate, we can all get just absolutely pwned.
Right.
Easily. And I'm trying to, I feel like in terms of game speak, the Githyanki speaks the language of power.
Yes.
So if I say, hey, think about the fact that Mellowell did this by herself, could you? That would reach him far more than, hey, I like her. I think you should like her too. And, she might have made a deal and we don't know what happened and we should just wait to ask her. Wouldn't fly.
Social engineering, baby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why I'm a rogue.
Which makes sense for a drow.
Yes.
Who, is also in exile. So
So we're speaking through the lenses of our characters, and I feel like we're doing a really good job of not breaking from that, because real Casey would be like, hey guys, let's really sit down and think this through. But the drow rogue is like,
I've got to speak the language of power.
Yeah, so hey dude, she did this by herself. Think on that before you start bad-mouthing her.
And here's the thing.
And it just went...
When it really comes down to it, the limelight is on the players. What they do is the story. From my perspective, Mellowell, Quig, all these different NPCs, they matter. Some of them are 2-dimensional, and they're just there. Some of them are 3-dimensional. Some are 4th-dimensional.
Yes.
But the point is...
Quantum superposition.
Quantum ogres. But...
Thank you.
The point is, they could completely miss all of these Easter eggs perfectly fine. It just so happens that when they finally encounter the whatever, it'll be a certain way because of their decisions, right? It's not a trap. It's, look, here's all the pieces. You got to put them together. Now, comments. Megan said a couple things I thought were really cool. See, heed the warnings of the NPCs. They might be full of shit, but there's a chance that they are not BSing you. 100%.
Yeah.
It is. Players do one of 2 things. They either just don't listen to the NPCs, or they take it as the holy book, and they're like, "Wait, that NPC said there's a bad guy down there."
Yeah. Yeah, it does go one or 2 ways, and I don't know if...
You lied to us, DM. It's like,
I'm very aware of the fact that the things I potentially latch onto could be absolutely unimportant to the game. And in my brain, I've got, like, the red yarn, and I'm like, aliens. This makes sense. And, I could be potentially...
Technically, it is, because it's outsiders.
It's always aliens.
My point is this. Well, actually, we'll get to that in a second. In my game, if a character is really latching onto something, I'm going to make it. I will weave it into the story because it's their story.
Right.
I had a player a long time ago. Megan, you'll know him. Alex, and pretty much every single character Alex plays or played, doesn't matter what the class was, doesn't matter what game it was, doesn't matter what setting it was, could have been a zombie game. He's playing a Super Saiyan. That's what he wants. He wants to be Goku.
Were his
That's
power
it.
levels over 9,000?
Sometimes.
Oh, okay.
And actually, his character is in Dreadlore. His character is one of the gods. Because in a game a long time ago, he got the deck of many things. He pulled a card and he got a wish spell. And in 3.5, you could wish for anything. It's just that if you wish for anything outside of the certain purview of the spell, you get it at a dastardly cost.
It's like a fey gift.
Well, his wish was, I made everyone leave the room. I was like, no one say a word. Cameron was there. Anyway, and my buddy Austin. And we were definitely drunk. Drinking Mickey's malt liquor. Anyway, he said, I wish that I was, or that I am, and always will be, and always was, the most powerful being ever to exist. That was his wish. And that was also the last game he played. Because his character ascended to godhood. Right? His character was Kronos. And he's so powerful that if he does anything, he will destroy himself and all of existence. So he is always watching. He is the god of time.
Kronos.
Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That makes sense.
So. Wow. That was out of there.
Yeah.
Why did we talk about that? Okay,
I don't know.
regardless. I just got off track.
You did a good job of it.
Always be careful about people who are already on another team. 100%. One of the biggest foils for an adventuring party is the other adventuring party.
What's the same thing with traveling? You never have to be worried about the locals. It's always the other tourists. Yeah, that's just a life advice right there. But
no,
we
it's
were
D&D,
talking
so
about-
it's Kronos with a K.
with a K. God of War does Kronos with a K.
Guys
too.
don't care about your opinion. Power is what they care about.
It was
100%.
we were talking about Mello and her other party.
It's a cool story.
Yeah, and also there is a NPC that has not been in the game for 4 or 5 months. And I'm still obsessed with this character because in
matters.
my brain, she's coming back or she's already there. And you've been really silent about it, so I feel like I'm close, and that's why you can't say stuff. I could be wrong, but the point is that
There was a staff of power today.
I said that! Sorry. Anyway.
They're all plot devices.
The point
Alex
is...
always plays the saying it's true. It's totally true. 100%.
The point is that he's gotten the lore so easy to be emotionally invested in that I think about this stuff outside of the game. I'm like,
That's what you want.
It's insidious.
The storyteller, in my opinion, you've done your job when on whatever messaging board you all use, people are talking about it out of game.
Yeah.
And that conversation, that's where it is. That's the narrative. That way when they come into the next game, they're like, all right, we're doing this, and this, and this. And they're always wrong.